Okay, something a bit different this time. We are going to attempt a night takeoff and a landing. Take off from one runway, land on a different runway, using the AWLS, which is the all-weather landing system. The idea being we're going to take off from the runway here. We're going to fly to a course we've set up to drive us into another runway, and then switch on the AWLS at around about 10 kilometers, which will hopefully guide us in to the airport. So let's get on with it.
Generator. Caution.
Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is put some lights up so we can see what we're doing. Always getting ourselves set. Right, so now we're putting in the coordinates for the TACAN station, which is a beacon that's on all NATO airfields. This will give us a airfield to head for, but next we need to set a course. I'm going to set a course line which is in line with the runway at the TACAN station. This allows us to give us a direction to head for, so we're heading towards the runway. Okay, the idea being we're going to intersect the course about here and then fly into the runway. Okay, so once we're about 10 kilometers away from the runway, we'll switch on AWLS, which will hopefully guide us in. Right, power up, ready for takeoff. And away we go. I've never done this before, so I've got no idea how successful I'm going to be. Okay, and we rotate. Whoops, a bit high. Okay, now we need to keep our gear up. Gear going up, and we need to keep our witch's hats in between the two chevrons there, which is our ideal climb rate. We're going to climb up to around roughly 6,000 feet, then we're going to find our way onto the course we set. Then make our way back down to 3,000 feet, get our gear out and get ourselves ready for landing. Then at about 10 kilometers from the airfield, we'll switch on AWLS, and hopefully that will guide us in anyway. Just reduce power. Ideally we want to get to around about 250 knots, at which point we can put down our landing gear. But let's get onto the line first. Okay, so off to our left is the coastline of Georgia. Lose a bit more power. Okay, and pretty soon we're going to start a slow turn to the right to try and get ourselves onto the course line we set earlier. So yeah, as I was saying, the TACAN stations are little radio transmitters and receivers that sit on most NATO runways, which allow you to navigate to those runways. They are transmitting and receiving, so they can get distance information. So as you can see, as we make our turn, the distance to the TACAN we're heading for is 24.9 miles. We're probably not turning tight enough at the moment, so we're going to have to come past the line and go back onto it again. Also trying to keep an eye on our altitude. We want to try and also make a gentle descent. Keep an eye on our speed as well. We don't want to get too fast because we've got to slow down to 250 to put our gear out anyway. Okay, everything looking good. We've got a bit past the line, as you can see. We just need to swing round a little bit and get ourselves back on it. Once we're on the line, we can line ourselves up with the mark here, which is the navigation point for the TACAN, and our little chevron at the top there by the heading ribbon. You can see is our current heading. But before we can line that up, we need to get onto the course line. So just coming back now, checking our altitude. Okay, it's okay so far. Speed okay. Somewhere out there is a coastline. You can just about see it in the distance. 20 miles from the TACAN station. Okay. Gear down. To get ourselves back on to the course line. Okay, that's relatively near enough. Slightly off. Okay, we're at 17.1 miles from the TACAN station. We've lost a bit of altitude doing that. Our speed is good. We need to ideally keep that between 150 and 155 knots. Something like that. I'm just going to get some more heights before we get to the 10-mile point. We want to start a 10-mile point at around 3,000 feet. That gives us an ideal glide slope down to the runway. Okay, just need to get back on course a little. Still keeping the speed correct. That drops a bit a little low. We need some more height. 15 miles to the TACAN station. It's quite tense. It's hard to keep situational awareness when you're just looking at the instruments all the time. Okay, 13.5 miles to the TACAN station. So in a little while we'll switch on AWLS. Still getting some height. 2,800 feet, 150 knots, looks good. We also put a little bit of a downward thrust on the nozzle on the Harrier, just to help us with altitude and at this low speed. Okay. .5 miles to Takan station. We're slightly left. We need to come right a bit. Okay, switch on the AWLS. Some new symbology. We have got our heading, the circle. The horizontal bar is our ideal glide slope, and our vertical bar is our ideal heading course line. We need to keep basically this cross in the middle of that circle. Okay, it will move as we jiggle around on the course line. We need to come down. Our glide slope is still too high. We're going up, so I'm going to reduce power, excuse me, to lose some speed, which will lose us some altitude. It loses some thrust, won't necessarily lose some speed, because as we go down we will gain speed. So we need to keep coming down a little. There's the coastline, a bit more. Basically we will keep coming down until we will cross the glide slope, and we need to, at the point at which we cross the glide slope, we need to arrest that descent, or at least keep it constant with the glide slope. We're going to be going down all the time. We're still a little bit left of the course line though. That's not looking good. Never mind, we'll see how we go. Similarly, we need to really go right until we cross the course line, at which point we'll start to come left again to pick up that course line. Because if we're not careful, it will just drift from the right all the way to the left as we go past it. Okay, we're doing good, excuse me, on the glide slope. Okay, we need to come up a little bit. As I said, we hit the glide slope, and now we need to chase it back up again. So we're going down at a reasonable rate, currently 450 feet per minute. We are 3.7 miles from the end of the runway. We're still too far left. I've got a feeling we're going to miss the runway here. So much to think about. Got to keep the speed. Need to watch the altitude. You need to watch the descent rates, as well as trying to put in minor movements to the right. I'm putting a few movements in, but I think we're too far to the left. I will be amazed if we land this. Okay. Can't see the runway. I was hoping that there'll be lights which will give me something to aim at as we got closer. Okay, here's some roads down there. Okay, 1.2 miles away from the end of the runway. I think that's the far end of the runway, not the nearest end of the runway. Okay, bring the glide slope down. We're above the glide slope slightly. Oh, there's a runway to the right. Oh, we're going to miss. Sugar. Okay, on the grass. Okay, let's just hope there's no buildings in the way. We're going to scoot across the runway now. Brakes are on. Brakes, 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 brakes. Oh, now we're going to spin because I put some rudder in by mistake. Oh, it's all gone pear-shaped. Oh, okay. A bit of a skid as we spun round. Well, okay, we're stopped. Right, okay, well that wasn't too bad. We followed it most of the way down. I think I knew all the way that I was a little bit too far to the left. A bit more practice, I think. But yeah, I was happy with the glide slope, and we landed. It's lucky there was no buildings next to the runway, but I suppose they don't build buildings next to the runway just for exactly that reason. But no, generally happy with that. Okay, right, see you next time.